day, viewers, and I welcome you to today's edition of the Youth Arena program, reaching you from the Advent Cable Network, Nigeria. I hope you enjoyed our last show. Well, I did. I remain Juliet Omumere, your host. In today's world, all of us are experiencing the use of this thing called social media, which its usage is very popular among the youth. Generally, like other technology, social media has both upside and downside. Hence, when it comes to the social media effects on the youth, those pros and cons are particularly significant. So, viewers, let's talk on the topic, the impact of social media on the youth. I have here in the studio with me some internet guru. They are Nomso Ezaku, an IT personnel, and Chimeze Kinsili and Azodo, a sound engineer. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're looking great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, let me take you guys back to the analog age where you have, can you remember some sound made by Nokia phone like ta-na-na-na, ta-na-na-na? It's really funny where you have someone maybe in your class having you a Motorola phone. When it makes sound, you know that that's a Motorola phone. All right, let's say, would you prefer going back to that age?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
Okay. Well, generally, things have been made easy by technology.
Okay.
Yes. Of course, I don't have to go to my neighbor's house to make a call. Those days.
Or climb the tree.
Yes, of course. Just on my phone, I can make a call, and this is a simple example.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, that's good. Tell us, what are the platforms commonly used? What are the social media platforms commonly used these days?
Okay, if I would even start by laying emphasis on what social media is, people, so that they will get a clearer picture of it.
All right.
So social media is just like it's a gathering of, and like you said earlier, internet. It's like a gathering of a collection of items where, like he was mentioning, if I didn't want to go to my neighbor's place to study, it's up there available on some virtual means of reaching it. Meaning I can be somewhere and access it somewhere else that may require physical movements and physical distance to reach there. So it's a collection of apps or collection of articles or collection of different things too, but on a platform, a virtual platform called the internet.
All right. Okay, let's see. There's so many things, so many usages of social media. Justify the negative and positive sides of social media.
Okay, I think at this point there's a balance.
Yeah.
There's like a 50-50 thing. There's so much positive impact as much as the negative impact too.
Okay.
We've seen recently quite a number of people whose social media has caused serious depression. And in our society these days, we find a lot of youths with low self-esteem. Such impacts can be gotten from how acquaintance with the social media.
Okay.
When you get so exposed with the kind of life that you can afford or things that are bigger than your capacity or your scope, then you start to feel so inferior of yourself. Those are examples of the negative impacts.
Okay.
But of course, widely we know the positive side of the social media is the fact that it allows interaction, content creation. I may not create a content on the social media, but if I'm a user, I can just quickly see a content that's been published by another user, and then it may educate me. So it's this educational part of it, and enlightenment. It comes from the positive side. So if you see, there's a balance. There's
okay,
50,
you think
50.
there's a 50-50 thing?
Yes.
To you, do you think that the negative effect of it is more than the positive?
Like you said, there's a balance, but social media doesn't tell you what to do. It's just an instrument as well.
Okay.
It's like how people could be arguing, why did they invent guns?
Okay.
But some people needed guns in war, but some people needed guns to rob people as well too. So in case you thought there was a lot of gunshot murders, let's not invent the gun anymore. But somebody will still try to kill somebody with a knife or with their own hands, like Cain did to Abel as well. So I think it's down to the user. The user actually still ends up qualifying social media. Like you asked earlier, there are a lot of apps, Facebook, Twitter, those are social network apps. But there are even other things too online where people read articles and WordPress blogs, even where a lot of Nigerian people have gossip there. So it's still social media as well. So The same internet somebody is using to make online classes, like the U-Lesson app that I think started during COVID-19 for children who couldn't go to school.
Okay.
That same internet is available for, permit me to mention, maybe Linear Cage's blog, who thinks there are a lot of people who want to read gossip on the internet too as well. So this same platform, like he mentioned, it's open for these two people, but what do you want to use it for? So it's down to knowing how human beings will use any other thing apart from social media. So we just present a platform where I don't have to travel all the way to Anambra State to give some lecture to somebody. I could project it all the way from here, being in Abuja, to go all the way there.
Yeah.
So it's open for us to use.
All right. I
So
want us to get it right, and
Yeah.
for the viewers too. I want us to address this bad usage of social media. You see people living fake life
Okay.
on social media. You see so many things happening in terms of social media. You see internet fraud everywhere. So I want us to talk on this bad usage. Just try to be explicit.
Problem.
You know, like
So like he mentioned,
Yeah.
people living lives that are not up to their capacity. So I'll paint it more with social media, but look at what it may be without social media. Somebody who maybe lends or who borrows dresses from their friends
Okay.
so that they could look somehow that happened to a lot of us when we were in secondary school.
Yeah.
So now on social media, instead of having to go out for people to see you, you can just even wear it right there and then snap with some background you visited, and all you have to do is put a caption. So people are influenced to do this so that people who can't even see them in person and give them these responses that they are not really what they say they are, they can live on that. So a lot of that, it has brought up the rise of what we call influencers.
Okay.
Really. So you have to put up, and that is bad because it doesn't make you be someone better.
okay.
You start with a lie, you have to continue building on that lie. Once the foundation is bad, every other thing else will
That's actually what we're talking about, living fake life on social media, posing what you are not. Let's say coping with the COVID-19. How has social media helped to adjust to the daily activities?
Okay, I think that's an interesting one because you see, social media and COVID-19, there was at a point an imbalance, but then I think a lot of youths found solace with social media because at the time we were locked down, movements were not allowed, so people stayed. What they do is they buy data, they come online, and they watch things. I can say that it did more of the positive than negative, because when people stay at a particular place and watch other people create content, so they begin to think about their own content. Like I have a very good friend of mine. He has a blog now and has a YouTube channel where he gets to upload some comedy skits. He's an Anglican too. He found out he could do that during the COVID-19. Yeah, so a lot of youth found more than solace.
Let's say it rolls down to the user and what he or she is doing with the app he or she has.
Exactly, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, as an IT personnel, I just want us to, you just have to picture it. What are the, is there any psychological implication or medical implication or mental or even spiritual attached to?
Of course, there's all of this.
Okay.
That's because all these things you mentioned, we human beings have these attributes as well.
Okay.
So I'll just go straight into it. I'll go with the physical, stroke medical. I am with a smartphone here that emits lights. Near to see, call the kind of lights too as well. LED screens, the kind of lights. I'm sure he's a sound engineer. He will know even the kind of sound that comes out for certain places. There are some speakers you can't carry in here because of this space too as well. So obviously having to stare at it all the time, it will have adverse effects for your eyes.
Okay.
And if one says you don't have to stare at it all the time, you have to do work. And if your work requires you monitoring data, for instance, there's an uprising in people who do crypto trading. So people have to monitor and look at these things all the time. Maybe if they don't have things like reminders or sensors, they have to look at it, so it affects their eyes. Mentally too as well. What you see is what you consume while you're working there. So it keeps your brain activity going, which is good, but an excess amount of it without having to take a break and rest. I'll give you an instance. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I happened to do some graphic materials for the NPHCD, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. And these days, remote work started trending because I don't have to occupy an office space there may not be enough there. So I can work from home and send them these materials. And then health bodies needed a lot of these graphic materials to send to people's phones so that they could know exactly what COVID looked like. We have all seen what that pictorial what maybe COVID doesn't really look like that. It's just to give an insight to viewers who watch TV, who even watch their phones too as well, because it's all social media. So I had to constantly be making graphic and information every day, getting new narratives. Maybe wash your hand. Maybe this time social distancing. How many meters there? We have to find a way for even children to consume these things too. So I remember one day I wanted to jog, and I couldn't believe what the sky was like because I'd been in my room consecutively for about 5 to 6 days. I couldn't believe the sky was that amazing. Not obviously, it's God's creation. I see it every day, but it was. So sometimes we do have to take a break because it does take these effects as well.
Okay. All right. Okay, over to you. Does he have any spiritual attachment to it? Like?
Oh yes. Okay. I'll give you an instance. There are a lot of trends about men of God.
Okay.
Yeah, on the social media. Yeah, there are trends about men of God, and we don't really understand what they do. We know the scriptures. We are taught those things even from being as our infant, from Sunday school. We know the scriptures. We know the word of God, and then you see men of God come out on the social media. They do a lot of stuff, and people are watching. Now we know that the word of God is a standard for us. I'm telling you, it's not just enough. We need grace. It's not just because if there's no grace, you can just begin to just like what these people do. And sometimes people will even go to the extent of contacting them, and then before you know what, these men of God have followers. They have serious followers all around the world, and it's just social media. Because if there's no social media, we may not even hear about them. We may not even know them.
But there's this psychological threat they give to people that you see a post that if you don't say thank you, Jesus, this will happen.
Exactly. So much on WhatsApp. You see, don't send it to 10 people. And you will die in the next 21 days.
Well, so what do you say about such posts?
These are the I think spiritually it's affecting not just the youth, even the elderly ones. Yeah, because you see some people who even don't want to send those messages, they begin to send it, and at the end of the day, you don't forget social media.
Because they don't want to die.
Yeah, they don't want to die, so they begin to send in wrong information. So, and if you check, this is supposed to be an interactive technology. You know, once you send an information, someone has downloaded it, decoded it, and it sticks there. It begins to affect the person.
Do you know the funniest thing? Even the traditionalists in the bushes, in the forest, and now in social media, say you want to make money.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God! Times when you're to forward an SMS.
Okay.
To an official SMS. You see some persons shortcutting words.
Okay.
They are now used to it. Some have forgotten the spelling of certain words.
Yeah.
So
but I want to agree with you totally. Because that gets to happen. Okay, it actually I guess affects some people sometimes, yes. Yeah. But I think the way I chat with my friend is so personal to me. Will not be the same way I chat with my director.
Okay.
I may be cutting words, but once I have to send a message to my director, it's in my subconsciousness.
That's for you.
That's for me personally.
That's for you.
Yes,
okay, let's get to you because some persons would do it unconsciously because they are used to it.
Yeah,
so what do you have to say?
Yeah, it still boils down to us saying social media is affected or is factorized by the user as well. So I'm going to paint an analogy with this example you are giving, which you're not entirely wrong, but if I was dressing up for this show, I'll probably wear something like this. Maybe I'll get to know Kingsley after the show. And if I was coming to his house, I don't think I'll wear a suit. He would even be wondering what I'm coming for. So it's just what you use for the. But if it's something I'm used to wearing as well, I would still wear it to Kingsley's place. And he'll know Nonso always wears a suit. I'm not surprised that he's in here as well. But speaking on the illiteracy part, because of the nature of communication and then communicating behind the barrier where someone can't see your face first, but like you can send some form of a message or article to another person who's expecting you. For instance, like he said, your director might never have seen your face, but with the way you put your language, it tells of who you are to as well. It's still being addressed by some form of thing you're giving out to.
Yeah.
So if your diction is terrible, it already paints a bad picture of you. And we hear of what first impression is done.
Yeah, of course.
So I don't think you want to be shortcutting words to, which could be an advice to people to not always shortcut words even when they chat.
Okay.
For the sake of not getting used to it, subconsciously. And the subconscious is that we can't entirely train it because we get overwhelmed by stimuli we are around.
Of course.
There are people who always work in places where there are ACs and they always wear thick clothing. It might not occur to them even when they go to somewhere warm like a restaurant and they're still wearing thick clothing. And I will look at them and be wondering what is going on. But I won't immediately judge them because I have to know their background first. So you shouldn't get used to something that you won't only be chatting with someone on social media. So if it already comes to your mind that social media is for so much more than just mere chatting, even chatting that is part of it, you give him full words when you're chatting as well, so that it evades this.
Yeah.
Because you're right.
Of course.
We can't, like he said, we can't rule out that it may promote literacy, but social media itself doesn't. I agree with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how has this destroyed our cultural values? Being Africans, being Nigerians, how has it boils down to individual users
Yes,
now?
I get it.
Generally, how has it destroyed our cultural values?
Okay, I mean, it hasn't entirely destroyed, but it has done some damage, and it's true. That's because of the kind of content. He mentioned something about content creation. So social media is like a blackboard, and then you get to write whatever it is, and that defines what is on the blackboard. Yes, so the kind of content we put here have been, or the kind of platform we've been given, have been engineered by the mindset of the people who really invented it. So we are Nigerians.
Okay.
And the social media apps or the social media platforms we create as well are tailor-made for Nigerians because Nigerians are thinking like Nigerians for that. Mainly,
okay.
I mean, except they want to go global.
All right.
Except they want to go global too. But even people who, like Facebook it's very big, Twitter is very big, Instagram is very big. And it's something every single culture can align to. But the engineer always has a mindset that ends up, I won't call it brainwashing, but it kind of tunes the user to follow a certain pattern.
Okay.
Because honestly, maybe for instance, we ought not to be tweeting like Nigerians the way we discuss. Maybe we're not people who just go out and air dirty laundry, but we have to get used to it because it's what the platform demands.
Okay.
I don't think I can swim here because there's no pool.
Yeah.
So it's certain apps, certain platforms have been made to actually even tailor-make you to be some kind of way.
Fair enough.
And the obvious antidote to that would be to stay off it. Totally.
All right, viewers, you've heard it all from our guests. We will be going on a short break. When we come back, we shall continue the remedies to the negative use of social media. Sit back and relax. We'll be back.
On this show, we focus on the journey from girlhood to womanhood and everything in between.
You hear such comments like it's not ladylike because there is a way a lady should behave.
Please don't ask a man out. I beg you. We are so cultured that the day you do.
It is in that place of fellowship that you get to discover all these things.
You discover yourself.
Yes.
Biology-wise, women are able to progress faster into addiction than the men.
Don't crucify the woman for wanting financial security.
Remember, every woman is worthy by design.
Welcome back to the show, viewers. Still with me, Anazodo and Ezaku. Before we went on a short break, we tried to establish the good and bad uses of social media. Over to you. Before we went on a short break, we tried to establish the good, and you said it's on a scale of 50-50.
Yes.
Now, even without disputing that, and when the usage is boiling down to the user, good. You can see that so many things are happening on social media. You see the young, recently you see some young boys, teenagers, that traveled from one state to another because they want to learn how to do the quick cash stuff. All right, now, should we say that the ban on Twitter sometime last year should be a monitoring gadget on some other social media platform?
Okay, well, you see, even though Twitter was banned, activities around the social media did not stop. Yeah, so there are, you see, monitoring young minds on usage of social media has to do with, it has to be on a personal note. You can't generalize it. For instance, in a country where you have over 200 million people, there is no amount of ban you can place. There's no amount of IT gurus you can put behind the screen to sit down and monitor what speech one releases, or what, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So even though Twitter was banned, other platforms are still there. And if, for instance, I give you an example, you ban Facebook because of misuse, there is Instagram. Then you ban Instagram because of misuse. There's still Twitter. Yes, of course, there's Twitter. And there are other platforms too. And now, what if you don't decide to ban everything? Probably because of misuse. Yes, now, so you're not taking us back to analog age. Don't forget that even though these platforms have negative impacts, they also have positive impacts. For instance, when Twitter was banned, people were losing billions on a daily basis. How about that? How about our young people who have decided to invest their time positively and decide to use social media positively? Don't you think if you begin to place regulations like banning, it could also affect them? Yeah, so I think we need a society where we just learn how to culture our young ones. Personally, like, let it start from the house, from the school, from the home, in the school, the university.
Like Sunday schools these days? Nobody wants to be Sunday school.
Yeah,
okay. All right, fellas. What would be a monitoring gadgets to this?
Well, the ban wasn't a monitoring gadget. I think the ban was more of an absolute measure. Because Twitter wasn't available. We know people said it's in VPN.
Yes.
But so that was quite absolute. But he did mention like there are other apps too. Every single app made for social media, every single thing made, there's nothing you can make that can't be abused. There's nothing really, because like we said, it's down to the human heart and why they want to use it. But there are ways where these things could be regulated. That's why we have regulation bodies for certain things. That's why even DSTV has a control where things that are not rated for kids maybe younger than 12 can't watch it. It won't even show in the first time. And you can put, technology makes room for that as well. So I'll give you an instance. With the blocking of an IP, you can even block certain sites in confined spaces. It was internet and computers in secondary schools, but you knew you only wanted them to go on certain sites. In short, if you knew the IP of certain sites that you didn't want them to go, you could just easily block that. But this was on like a national scale, where you don't really know what everybody uses Twitter for. So that wasn't really monitoring. There are means of monitoring too, but it infringes on what they call privacy policies. Because a lot of companies have been taken to courts. A lot of times the Senate has to sit with the Facebook owner, Mark Zuckerberg, because they try to see how you're on your own and you're giving this guy your information. Some people go there and say, happy maybe 5th anniversary, and they post the 1 million and something pictures of their 4 years before they're married. Nobody sent them to do this. But you see, I was mentioning earlier where there is what the social media app is available for. And they tell you, you can do this, you can do that. So you just think to yourself, let me do this. They didn't force it. Nobody ever forces you to. Instagram will never just pop out the phone on their own and create legs and come to my face and tell me, post this picture. No. But you know you could do that because you've been given room to. But it's down for you to choose, do I want to or not, or how much should I put out there or not? And it still goes down to the user as well. So, like he said, there are other means of educating people before they get to platforms that are empty before you put your own content in. If they teach people in school about math or English, there are math tutors on social media. There are pastors, there are churches, good ones, on social media too as well, who use this to evangelize. Because there are countries where people have not really heard about the word of God. And even Jesus talks about, like, we're going to those ends. You could use social media. So I don't have to go to China to preach. But I hope that I put the gospel on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, and then a Chinese user will read it, and it has gotten over there. I don't have to do any work to it.
Oh.
The only work I have to do maybe is slide it out.
Okay, all right. Talking about regulation,
Yes.
do you think parents and school authorities has really done more in that aspect? Because going back the time of COVID-19, there are stories whereby students being stuck at home, misusing social media. That is to tell you that the school authorities and their parents are not, or we're not looking into what they do with these iPads and laptop. Do you think they've done more to curtail the usage of this social media among their children?
Well, typically, the response will be that people who want to regulate something that is known for free use, there'll be rebellion, obviously. So it'll be easier for parents to monitor than in schools. But I know schools still have their own measures. For instance, there are devices that don't make use of SIM cards, where you can have a network and then recharge your data. But those devices could connect to the internet via Wi-Fi. So a school's Wi-Fi, when you connect there, you could, like we mentioned earlier, shut out these IPs, the IP addresses. These IP addresses are just, maybe in case you go on Twitter, it won't be available because your network doesn't allow it. So maybe you can use it anywhere else but your school. And then teachers can do that for their own classroom, but we know they may not be 100% effective because people will still find a way to sneak around that.
Yeah.
But I do support regulation. I think it's easier for parents who can always check what their kids are doing so as well. I don't think there's any defense for the child to ever feel like, Daddy, why are you checking my phone? Or I don't think there's anything wrong. I think parents want to check that because they don't want to weep or mourn over when it has this adverse effects that we're talking about.
Okay.
Because some people don't really know how to open up to even people who are responsible for them. Parents, guardians, teachers. I would even go to the offices, to your CEOs or maybe your supervisors. They ought to know some of this to an extent, so that, I mean, in reporting maybe how you are carrying yourselves, be in class or in the office or at home, they could have their own testimony about how you're going to. And social media can easily hidden.
Okay.
That's why there has to be regulation. I do agree.
All right. Thank you, Anazodo. Now, if you're to be a father,
Okay.
all right,
Yeah.
how would you regulate the use? Of course, it is a trending thing.
Yes.
You can call home and your child picks the call and say, "Daddy," you give a message what the child should do.
Yes.
But how can you regulate this,
Yes.
the use
Yeah.
of phones
Yes.
among your children?
Okay.
You're smiling.
I like the question. I like the question. I'm taking it very, very personal.
Okay.
I'm not a father yet.
Yeah, but you aspirant.
but,
aspirant.
but yeah, I just put myself in that position just because of your question. Yeah, and I think there's so many things I have to redo. There's not been done.
Okay.
Probably by my own dad, of course. Let me tell you something. You see this phone you're seeing as a device.
Okay.
There are applications that have been designed that would still allow you hide contents, inside contents.
Content.
So you picking up my phone to check it up doesn't still mean you know my life totally. So instead of concentrating on their social activities, I would be putting the offline activities in them that would not make them pay attention to some certain social details or some things that are online. I don't know if you understand. Like I'm teaching them the word of God, then I'm teaching them how to be social as a normal person. You know, I get involved in their social activities. We do it our way, our style. Take them out. We call this thing our social thing. So when they get exposed to this content, they would be able to find an imbalance from what daddy says and what we see. It's not left for the child. You know, it's not left for the child to not choose. Like also said. But then that's where I cannot advise that grace has to come in. You have to continue to pray for these children. Because sometimes they want to choose the right thing. But peer influence will not allow. And there are a lot of factors that are affecting how people use the social media today. Yeah, so I'll do it like the analog system. Not totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, not totally.
That's for those that know how to do that.
Of course.
Some parents are...
Of course, that's why I wanted to react to the question. There's a question you threw up earlier. You said, how have schools, parents been doing? There is a whole lot of more to be done. By the school, by parents, there's a whole lot of more to be done. You know, because once you begin to allow these children with privacy, you know, there's a time to get to you.
Of course, I believe there are we have the Cartoon Network that you can upload or recharge for them to watch.
Yes.
But you allow them to watch the normal uncensored movies that is not good for.
Yes. Okay, let me give you an
children.
instance now. I'm going to make a confession, right? I was a teenager when I knew about the first porn site.
Okay.
Yes. Now, why did I mention about this? You may regulate what I do, but now, you know, these days now you have homes with internet.
Okay.
You don't just give people private internet, you put it in the whole house. Whoever is in the building connects. Okay. So how about a child who you regulate contents for, who you subscribe social things to, and then they go out there and then get one simple link that will mess their entire life up. Honestly. Just a link, www. Just one word. And it's all, they begin to see satanic contents. Yeah, it's there. So how about that? You can't rule out that one totally. That is why you don't just regulate and go. You have to be part of it. You have to be part of the child's social life. Okay. From the growing age till that point where you don't control anymore. Right. At that point, you believe and trust God that child has everything it takes. Can I just give you one simple example? Okay, like for as a young man, I've not been living with my parents for years. Yes. But the other day, someone called me and told me, what do I really do in an Anglican church? Yeah, you're a cute guy, and whenever you come to the church, the way you dance, you don't dance like you're an Anglican. The way you worship, you don't worship like an Anglican. Why are you an Anglican? See, that is how my parents did. There's something about this Anglicanism that my parents put in me when I was growing up. Okay. They made me love it. Now I don't fancy worship style out there. Instead, when I see it, I do it in my church. I don't know if you understand. That's now me balancing what I am now and what I've been put in me when I was a child. You can't rule it out. The Bible says train up a child in the way he should grow, and when he's old, how would he depart from it? Yes. Even if he tries to walk away, there's this subconscious.
Let's say you repackage it.
They just stay there and then do this thing. So I think you just put these things in them and be part of their social life from the growing age till the point where you don't control them anymore.
Okay, nice. Okay, one last word to our viewers out there, the youth out there. Yeah. They are the users of social media. Yes. And what do you say to them?
Okay.
As a sound engineer.
Okay, as a sound engineer, and with my little idea about IT, I'm going to say everything about social media is a 50-50. You are either destroying or you're creating. Yes. You can either be creating something that is going to impact millions, or you're destroying yourself and creating something that is going to destroy millions. Okay, so as a young person out there, my advice is try and use the social media positively. There's a lot of advantages. Yeah, businesses are selling on Instagram. So instead of wasting your time going to stand in front of your neighbor's house to snap, and just to show people that you have a good house, find something else. There are people who are using that same time to make money. You know, a lot of youths don't even know that there's what we call Google paid adverts. Yes. Even that fine clothes you want the world to see, you can make 3 million people see it in just a second. A lot of people don't know. So why not educate yourself in stuffs that will help you use the social media in a positive way and then impact, because that's where the problem is. I'm not just destroying myself, I'm destroying people. Because if 10 million people like Anazodo, see where the problem starts. Now I'm a social media influencer, 10 million people like Anazodo, and then I decide to post negative things. I'm already misleading 10 million people because already they like me. They
always believe you.
Yeah, they believe me, you know. So they want to do that thing. You see, I'm not just destroying myself, I'm destroying...
Social media celebrity.
Yeah, so I would only choose to use it positively if by God's grace I have 10 million.
Thank God for that knowledge you have. Yes. All right, Mr. White, Isaac, what's your word for the viewers?
Like we've been saying, it's because it's down to the user. I'll speak to parents first, because if it's down to the user, and in our context there, most youths use it, they should watch how they bring up their children to us, but they should watch the kind of things they fill their mind with children. They should learn to condescend in an aspect where their children could let them know what they're engaging on social media. And it's not a war against analog age and digital age, because naturally we're improving. The kind of dresses we're even wearing now, the kind of chairs do we want to be sitting on wooden chairs having this? And these were the cameras that were used back in there. So everything is making progress. So it's not a war of how you did it back then, but I think I even challenge parents to learn how this digital age works, so that they won't be misled if the kids feel like they're misleading them too. Then there's so much you could do with social media, like he's saying. these days, even the positive and the negative aspects are relative, because a Yahoo person who made money and bought his mother a new house, the mother will defend him for all his life.
Of course.
But I mean, and she will end up weeping when they catch him and all of that. These stories flood everywhere. We've heard of Hushpuppi and the likes. They're not doing well for our reputation, because you might want a job somewhere, not sent to you, and then they say Nigerians are like
Turn
this.
you down.
I don't blame people who have that kind of cap, because can they really trust who they've not really known at all? And then we'll be doing something well for ourselves here by the way we use things that other people can see too. So social media connects the world, and it kind of tells the world who you are as a person, who you are from, where you're from, maybe your state, or even your family, or even your nation as large as that as well. Because it's the only way it's an essence where we see we can't live without each other, so we kind of need something to unite us, and then all you think about is even maybe promoting yourself as something to be worshipped about. So these days, because it's relative, you have to stick to what you know adds value.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm taking away what he said, but I'm just kind of adding to that, because it adds value. And if it adds value, it's something that would always last. There are things you do that will last till you're old. For instance, journalism, there's no age where journalism ever fades away.
Okay.
So it's something good I can do. But the Beyoncés and the likes, when they are 60, they won't keep doing all of these things.
Oh,
They'll fill
yeah.
up. So you can't really focus wanting to be an influencer for all of that. It's a legal way to make money. There's nothing wrong with it. Maybe for adverts, maybe to promote brands and all of that. But you're putting yourself out there. You're defining yourself out there, and then it has to add value.
It doesn't just boil down to you, the user. You're not the only victim.
Yeah, I mean, it's you, the user, and then the receivers. The receivers are key, like he just mentioned right now. You can't have, I mean, there's no, if you have that amount of following, I don't have an issue with you. But you have to watch what you feed out to them. Imagine having, and that's the way the world is, imagine having 100 million, he's talking about. Imagine having 100 million followers. And a lot of them maybe combined in all social media apps. Imagine having all of, and all you do is to spew out garbage. It is a waste of those people's time, because I'm not even going to, as much as I can't start finding 100 million people to blame, I can blame you, the central figure of all of this. Because what will you do? What will you do when everybody is looking up to you?
That's it.
What will you do really? Will you mislead them? But people will, and people do. As a matter of fact, people have seen that's what social media is for. There are even very corny ways of saying that's what you should use social media to do, but which is very wrong.
Okay.
So.
All right. Thank you, Izaku. Thank you, Onozodo, for being with us in the studio. We hope to have more of you.
Sure, it's my pleasure.
So far, we have been able to justify the positive and negative impact of social media on the youth. What more can I say? I appeal to you watching me now to ask yourself why you are using the different apps you have in your devices, and take the decision of whether to go on using the sites or apps, or even moderate the usage. Parents and teachers, we beg you to also educate the youth on the use of social media, and this is where we wrap it up on today's program.